Cowboy Day YouTube channel.
It looks like this is a new normal. Oh, sorry. There we go. Yes, the new normal. It's going to be the first time we're headed back to the casino since they closed down in March. Actually, they did reopen for a little portion of the time, but I never went. Wasn't interested in playing at that time. They were still indoors. Now they've created an outdoor patio. It's supposed to be cool. Want to check it out. So this is going to be the first day back. Good luck to us, and we'll see you at the casino. Peace. I too am a shield man. All right, day one back. Well, that was a wild ride. Let's get in the car, take off this crazy getup, and go over some hand histories. Probably can't hear me very well, so it's let's take off this ridiculous getup. I gotta say, oh man, my face is pretty oily. Gotta say that with all this stuff on, you actually feel pretty safe. The environment feels safe. You know, they have the dividers, they're constantly cleaning everything, with the mask and the shield. I'm never touching my face. I just went to the bathroom, cleaned my hands. So I really do feel safe. So that part's nice. I feel comfortable. I actually enjoy being outdoors. I think it's actually, there's a little more fresh air. It's a better atmosphere in my opinion than being inside the casino. So I'm all for it. Anyway, as I mentioned, wild ride. So let's jump into those hand histories on this ride back home. Well, you know what time it is. It's hand histories from the Subaru once again. It's been a while since we've gotten to actually do these kind of real time, but I actually don't know if I'm going to be getting into the hand histories from the app play first or posting this, whatever. I always mention that. We'll mix up the order. But anyway, so when I arrive at the casino, I'm actually pretty impressed with what I'm seeing. I have seen some photos of it before I had arrived. From other people that had gone, friends of mine who sent me photos, and seeing it in person, I was actually impressed. This is, you know, my local card room, Lucky Chances. I do enjoy playing there a lot. You know, some people don't, but I love it. It's kind of like home to me. I've been going there for maybe over 10 years now, ever since I first started dating my now wife. This was the room that I had gone to because it's one of the closest ones to where we lived in San Francisco. And so I've just been going there for such a long time that I feel very comfortable there. And I think that's like a big part of doing well in the live arena is playing where you're comfortable. I've had some PTSD before in some other card rooms. For example, when I was living in Las Vegas, there was a period in which playing at the Venetian, I went on some cold streak for like 6 months or something. And I just, like, going in there made me feel ill. And so if you can find a place where you feel comfortable and happy, that's just going to really be able to set you up for success when you're playing. Anyway, so they built this tent, which I think they had an events company create for them. It has like a built wall. It has the signage. Looks really nice. I'll post a photo of it over there in the upper corner, over here somewhere. And yeah, I'm impressed. It feels nice. You're kind of outside in open air. It is, you know, Northern California, so it's just kind of a cool 70 degrees ish, like all the time. You know, if you are hot, you can take your jacket off. If you're not, you put it on. With having the PPE stuff, the mask and all that, you know, it kind of warms you up because you're breathing into this mask. I have the shield on, and so that keeps me warm as well. So I don't think there's any issue with, it does kind of get a little bit chillier sometimes here in Northern California, but altogether felt really comfortable. They also had the shields to the left and right of you as well as in front of you with an opening for your hands to throw the muck, to receive the cards, muck the cards. All in all, really impressed. I thought it was a great atmosphere. I felt like 100% comfortable. It didn't really feel that weird to me. I thought maybe once I arrived that like immediately I'd be like, this is strange. But I fell right back into, you know, my usual kind of experience playing at a live casino. So when I arrive, the 3-5 game, there's one 3-5 game, but it is full. So I decided to take a seat in 1-1-2, which is a pretty strange structure. You have to, if you're gonna limp, it's actually limping for double the blind. So even though it's 1-1-2, you have to limp for 4. You can kill it for 4 anywhere except I think the button, in which case now the limp is for 8. So it has a really strange structure in which it actually plays bigger than you would think for like a 1-2 game. It is a $300 cap, so I'm buying for the cap. And right off the bat, there's some hand where I raise like ace jack and kind of get trapped by kings where they just flat. Flop comes queen jack high. The guy's got like $40, which is pretty standard in these 1-2 games, right? People have these like micro stacks. So we get it in with my second pair, and he holds with kings, so I double him up there. The one interesting hand of note that I want to talk about from this 1-1-2 game, and I think it brings up kind of a good point for these games. Again, there's a lot of limpers. There is that kill for $4, so people are limping. There's like an early position limp for $8. Another couple limps. I'm in the big blind with king jack offsuit, and I bump it up, I think, to like $45. Pretty much trying to thin the field, be the aggressive action. Obviously, most of the time people aren't going to make a pair, and you're going to be able to tell pre-flop like what's going on. So the guy with the pocket kings, he is now doubled up once again after my double up, so I think he's playing like 350 or 400. He calls, and we go heads up to a flop, which comes 10-7-4 with 2 spades. Obviously, I don't have anything, but the important thing here is keeping aggressive action. I feel like, A, he just like doubled up twice. He's trying to keep his stack. I can put up a c-bet here and be able to tell just from his actions whether he's going to be continuing. I think that this is kind of a one and done for me, assuming that I don't pick up added equity. But I think if I c-bet here and he calls, I can pretty much guarantee that he's going to have another overpair as he did before when he had the pocket kings. So anyway, I c-bet $60. I'm trying to go on the larger side, right? Because I'm not trying to get floated by a bunch of hands. Anyway, he thinks for a bit and open mucks ace queen of hearts or ace queen of spades. I don't know, some suited ace queen hand. He looks at it for a while and mucks it face up. What I think is really interesting here is this is a hand that he should be absolutely winning. If he just decides to open the hand pre-flop, it's likely that he's just going to either get nobody to call or he's going to have the aggressive action, in which case now he gets to bet the flop and win. Because instead he decided to limp call with ace queen suited, doesn't flop a pair, he ends up losing to my king jack offsuit, which he had the best hand. So I think a lot of times you'll find that people are like trying to play small pots with these good hands, and instead what they're doing is the reverse. It's kind of hard. I mean, obviously there's going to be some situations, let's say, for example, instead of king jack, I have king queen, where the flop was queen high, and now I'm going to value on myself against his ace queen. That said, I obviously thought he had a strong range here when he's limp calling 40, especially from the player profile. So it's not like I'm going to just suddenly give him $400 in the pot. Instead, it kind of becomes a situation where oftentimes he's just not going to flop a pair. I'm going to c-bet and he's going to have to fold. So I think that, you know, just the standard play here is to be raising your good hands. You don't want to be limping your ace kings, your ace queens, your ace jacks, things like that, and then finding yourself in spots where like you're like, oh, I'm going to limp call, and then not really have any idea of where I'm at in this hand because you're not taking the aggressive action. Anyway, so that's kind of all for that. I then get my seat called for the 3-5 after winning that hand. I think I'm stuck like $110 or $120 heading over to the 3-5 game, which looks really juicy. I don't recognize any of the faces. I think there's like one guy that I recognize, but everyone else is just somebody else that I haven't seen. 2 of the guys were deep stacked. I just look at them. They don't look like they're very good at poker. So we're excited to mix it up. My very first hand in this 3-5 game, I posted the cutoff. The player to my immediate right is the first limper. I looked down at ace jack offsuit. I'm obviously going to be raising this to isolate. This is a regular that I know that can be kind of tight, but also kind of loose, just likes limping a lot of hands. Obviously, as I mentioned previously, you know, you want to keep the aggressive action. So I make it 25. The button to my immediate left calls, the big blind calls, and the limper calls. We go 4 ways to a flop, which comes ace 4-5 with 2 spades. It goes check to me. Obviously, with top pair, I'm going to be c-betting here. I bet 70 and 100, probably a little bit too large. But I think I'm going to be able to kind of immediately figure out by betting larger where I am in this hand. I am playing $1,000, so we are fairly deep against multiple of the opponents. The button folds, the big blind folds, and now the limper to my immediate right calls. When he limp calls here, this big bet, obviously I'm scared that he could have some hands like ace queen and ace king. This is a type of guy who likes to, you know, limp those sorts of hands. So there is some worry here that I could be behind right on the flop. That said, with 2 spades being present, obviously he could have some draws. The turn is the 8 of spades, kind of completing all of the draws. The flush draw gets there, 6-7 gets there. He checks, and I decide that I don't want to look back at my whole cards to see if I have the ace or the jack of spades. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be checking this card back no matter what. Even if I have the ace of spades, it's not like I'm going to be betting here for value. I think if I were to be betting, it would to try to get folds from like ace queen or ace king, but I'm not sure really those hands are going to be folding. So I think it's a pretty clear check back spot for me, and try to show the hand down. So I check it back. The river, I think, pairs the board, maybe it's an 8. I don't remember. It's a brick. There are no additional spades. It is not a 2 or 3, so no other straights really get there. It's not like a 4-liner to a straight. And once again, he checks pretty quickly and kind of shakes his head like he's upset that he, missed his draw. Not going to fall for that, buddy. I've seen these acting jobs one too many times. And more importantly, I'm happy to try to get this hand to showdown. That was my plan on the turn, so I am trying to show this hand down. So I check it back, and he then says that he missed his draw, and shows me the 6 of spades. I then table my hand, and it's good. When he shows me the 6 of spades, I don't know what he has exactly, obviously, because it's not 6x suited. Otherwise, he would have a flush. It's obviously not 6-7 offsuit, because then he would have a straight. So the only hands I could think of is having 6-3 offsuit. Maybe 6-3 offsuit, maybe 6-5 or 6-4 for a flop pair. I don't really know. He said he missed. He said he had nothing, so I don't think he had any pairs. So the only hand exactly that I can think of is 6-3 offsuit. So yeah, welcome to live poker, where people are limp calling $25 pre-flop with 6-3 offsuit. The funny thing is if he decided to be aggressive with that hand, I'm not really sure what he had, but let's say he had 6-3 offsuit. If he decided to be aggressive on this flop, I'm just gonna probably fold to a check raise on the flop to him as a specific opponent. And on the river, if he bets, I'm probably gonna fold as well. I don't really beat anything. It's a spot where I have to hope that he has a worse ace. And this is kind of one of the magical parts of playing live No Limit Hold'em, is that people just don't take these spots. It's why you should be folding when people bet rivers, because they usually aren't bluffing when they bet. So it's just kind of like these slam dunk spots where people just play this hand super face up. He had an opportunity to win this hand. I don't really want to be putting in a ton of money here with ace jack, but instead he kind of plays it passively and loses $100 in the pot himself, playing 6-3 offsuit or whatever it was. Anyway, so we win that pot, are pretty much up a little bit now after the $100 we lost in that game. And again, like I said, looking around, I'm excited at the quality of this game. Shortly after that hand, there's a hand where there's a limp under the gun. Next to act makes it 15. The whole table calls, including myself. I think I'm in the big blind with 10-9 offsuit. I call 10 more. The under the gun limper calls. And there's a player in between. I don't know if I messed up the action, but there's an under the gun limper, then there's another limper, and then the next guy raises. So there is a player in between the under the gun limper and the opener to 15. He now jams for like $180, 166 more. The opener for 15 pretty much snap calls 166 more. Folds all the way back to me. Like I said, there was like 4 callers of the 15. I fold, and now the under the gun player, who just called the 15, calls the 166 more as well. So we have one player all in, and these two other guys are playing for a side pot. One of them is deep. The under the gun guy is deep, but the original opener has like 300 left. Maybe he started the hand with 500, something like that. So they go now for this heads up side pot to a flop, which comes 4, 5, 6 rainbow. The under the gun player checks. The original opener now jams is 300, and that guy the under the gun guy snap calls. So I'm like, all right, let's see what we got here. So it's 5, 6. It's 5, 6, 7 is the flop. I think the flop is 5, 6, 7. And so the under the gun player has 5, 6 offsuit for flopping 2 pair and calling 166 more. The original opener has 5, 8 suited for flopping a pair and open-ended and hitting the 4 for the straight. And the jammer has ace queen for rivering an ace. I don't know if I had mentioned, sorry, I'm kind of losing track of thought here. But anyway, the flop came 5, 6, 7. Turn was a 4, rivers an ace, and 5, 8 scoops this nice little monster of a pot. So again, to recap, we have here 5, 8 suited opening for 15, snap calling 166 more, all in with players yet to act. 5, 6 offsuit doing the same thing, and both of them beating the limp jam from the ace queen. Wow. Yeah, just as I had expected, exactly the 2 guys that I thought were going to be action are these 2 guys. So yeah, we're excited. Which then brings us to this next hand. I think in between these hands, I'm seeing once again a bit of action. The guy to my immediate left, who has the 5, 6 offsuit, he's shown down a couple of spots where he's just being aggressive, like opening to 25, showing down like 9, 6 offsuit. Obviously, just playing a lot of hands. And so we have a spot where I'm in the small blind with pocket 2s. There are a few limps to me. I complete from the small blind with pocket 2s, and now in the big blind, he checks his option. So we go, I think, 5 or 6 ways to a flop, which comes 7, 6 deuce with 2 diamonds. We flop bottom set, kind of a dream spot. I check now the big blind, who had the 5, 6 offsuit. It's his action, and as he's thinking, the player after him checks, and so he immediately kind of bets 20. I don't know if it's like in relation to the fact that people are already checking out a turn, or if you just didn't have the time yet to bet. But he bets his $20, folds back to me, and when he bets his flop, I just feel like it's a spot where whatever he's betting, he's not folding. That's my read of the situation anyway, and like the 15-20 minutes that I've been at the table, if that. So I make it 120. We are maybe 1,000 or 1,100 deep at this point. I think I might be like 1,100 deep at this point. So and he covers. So I make it 120, and he pretty quickly makes it 320. And if there ever was a spot in my life that I've been more excited of getting in bottom set, I can't think of it, because I am very, very excited here. I'm just not really worried about pocket sevens or sixes. I've already seen him open from his blinds with like gap connected. So I'd assume like literally if he had sevens or sixes, that it's very likely that he would just open those hands himself. So because he hasn't raised, I don't even think he has pocket pairs here. So anyway, I posture for a bit, I think, and jam all in. To which he goes, "Oh wow, what do you have here?" Well, I can't fold. I call. I turn my hand over, and he looks at it, and then he rolls over pocket sevens. Ooh, boy, did I miss live poker. We get the fat slow roll from top set. It wasn't like the longest of slow rolls ever, but just the kind of a little bit of the speech, oh, what do you have here? Well, I can't fold. Well, yeah, you can't fold. You have the best possible hand. Obviously, you can lose to draws and things like that. I'm not really mad at the situation. I just thought it was pretty funny, especially once he kind of says, like, oh, what do you have here? Obviously, I think bottom set's the nuts. And we get stacked, putting us stuck. I think I'd added on from moving over. So I think at this point I'm stuck either 1,000 or 1,100. I don't remember how much I had added on because I had been stuck from the other game and added on extra $100 chips. But we were stacked, and stacked by the one guy in the game who, if I had like $10,000 on the table, I'd happily shovel in 400,000 big blinds against this guy with bottom set. Yeah, it stung. It's been a while since I've had set over setted, and this was not a nice little welcome to the game. But all I could do was kind of laugh about it. I've been running pretty cold in PLO on these apps lately. This wasn't a little bit of a helper, but I just kind of find it funny. Things have been going pretty well lately on the apps. I've been doing okay. And so, I'm just trying not to sweat it. I've been really trying to work on my mental game and not have it affect me. That doesn't always happen, of course. I have been tilting on the apps, especially given how poorly I think some people are playing and just how bad I've been running. But that said, my goal here is to continue to play well. And obviously the game's great. So I've got an opportunity to get unstuck for sure. In this next interesting hand of note, there is a limp under the gun, a couple of other limpers. I wake up in the cutoff with ace-jack offsuit and make it $60. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be making some fatty raises against wide ranges. These guys are showing that they don't like limp folding, and we're going to try to punish them. So I make it 60. Under the gun limper calls, and then two of the other limpers call. We go four ways to a flop, which comes jack, 7-5 rainbow. Goes check, check, check to me. I think for a bit, and bet 160 into a little over 220. Goes fold, and now the next limper pretty much snap calls, leaving himself with about 270 behind. The player in between us folds, and we go heads up to a turn, which is offsuit 4, and again he kind of snap checks. Obviously not my favorite card, because 6-8 gets there. It's pretty much one of the only draws. I didn't realize afterwards that 9-8 was a double gutter. He's obviously going to have some worse jacks here. Is it possible he has queens? Maybe. I think he's going to, when he checks here and the pot's as large as it is and he has 270 left, I don't think there's much else that I could be doing other than putting them all in. So I think for a bit and bet 400, putting them all in. And he goes into the tank for quite some time. While he's tanking, I'm actually not really sure what I want. I mean, I'm pretty positive that I have the best hand. I assume that if he himself has ace-jack, he's just going to be calling it off here for 270. The pot's too large. And, obviously two pairs, sets, or snap calls. He's not folding those. So I assume it's got to be a worse jack. Maybe he has like king jack, queen jack, jack 10. Anyway, so he tanks for a while. While he's tanking, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind this spot if he just folds. Even though I have the best hand, like picking up the pot here and not having to sweat any of his outs is nice. And after tanking for quite some time, he eventually does muck. So we pick up this pretty decent sized pot for the ace-jack offsuit. And we're now trending in the right direction. So now I'm kind of in raisy-daisy mode. I win a couple of hands, one in which I raise big with king 10 offsuit pre-flop versus a few limpers. Everybody folds. We pick up like 30-40 bucks in that spot. Then there's a spot where I open ace king suited. I think I get a couple of callers. Flop comes ace high, c-bet, win that pot, which brings us to a pocket kings hand, where again, I think there's 1 or 2 limpers. I make it $30 with pocket kings. The player with the 5-6 on the button calls, his boy with the 8-5 suited calls, and another limper calls. We go 4 ways to a flop, which comes queen 9-4 with 2 diamonds. Goes check, check. I bet 85 into about 120, maybe 130. The player on the button folds. He's been playing pretty fit or fold now post-flop. So it's kind of giving me the idea, as though he's wide pre-flop, obviously calling 166 more with the 6-5 offsuit. I think post-flop, he's kind of fit or fold. You know, if he makes a big hand, then that's when he's putting in the money. Anyway, so he folds, and now his buddy with the 8-5 suited from before calls the the $80 or $85 bet. I forgot what it was that I said I bet. The player to my right folds, and we go heads up to a turn, which comes a deuce, which brings the second flush draw. So now we have a board of queen 9-4, 2 with 2 flush draws, and he pretty quickly bets 170 into me. I think this could be a couple of hands. Obviously, it could be some 2-pair hands like queen 9, which, you know, when you start putting in the money with their made hands on draw heavy boards. Or it could be hands that have picked up equity. Let's say, for example, Jack 10 suited, which has now picked up a flush draw. Maybe some queens, which have picked up the backdoor flush draw, like King Queen suited, Ace Queen suited, Queen Jack suited, Queen 10 suited. And so I look at his stack, and I think he's playing like another 480 more. So now the question for me, obviously I'm not going to be folding, is whether I just want to be raising, jamming, putting them all into some tough spots where if he has Queen X suited for top pair and a flush draw, he's just not going to be folding it. Or if I want to play this a little more passively and see what develops on the river. I end up kind of going the passive approach and just flatting. Looking back on it, I think I like raising because there are going to be some rivers that just kill action. For example, he could have ace queen or king queen, which he's just not going to fold on this turn because of all the draws. Whereas if I just call, the river becomes a scary card. He checks. I'm likely going to just check behind because it's going to be hard to get value with just one pair. So I think I like just kind of funneling the money here on the turn when I think I have the best hand. So in hindsight, I think jamming is probably too strong. I think that can get some folds. So I think I like making like a $200 to $250 raise, a spot that's just going to kind of commit him and have us get all the money in right there, or just have us get all the money in by the river. Obviously, there's going to be some bad rivers where I'm going to be paying off like his left 200 when he gets there, but you know, just trying to kind of get him to commit for all of his stack. Anyway, as played, we just call the 170, and we go heads up to a river, which brings, it's like a small diamond bringing in the front door flush draw, and now he quickly bets $200 chips. You know, not my favorite card, obviously the front door flush getting there, and him not slowing down leads me to believe like one pair shouldn't be good. That said, people love clicking buttons at this level. I think you could easily just have a queen here, not know what to do, and just keep betting. That's what people like to do. They have top pair, they just keep betting. So getting a great price. I call pretty quickly. And he shows us ace queen offsuit for just top pair. You know, he ended up getting to keep about $280, whereas, you know, if I raise the turn, we probably just get it in and I stack them. But, you know, maybe that's just being a little too greedy or results oriented. In hindsight, like I said, I think I just like raising the turn. There are a bunch of draws, and you know, in theory, the river being the front door flush card, that should have killed action, and he shouldn't have been betting the 200. So because if he checks that spot, I'm probably just going to check it back, try to get the showdown and win. And so, you know, him betting there actually made us an extra 200 in a spot where I wouldn't have bet it myself. So yeah, again, like I said, I like just raising this turn and trying to get the money in there where he's going to have a lot of these Queen X suited types of hands that are going to be top pair and a flush draw. So we win that hand, and obviously now we've, between those two pots that we just won, I think we're about even. Maybe we're up a little bit or stuck a little bit. I didn't do the exact math between the hands, but yeah, quickly kind of got it back from the set over set debacle. I now once again pick up ace king, picking up a bunch of premiums. I think I make it 25 or 30 and pick up a caller from the blinds as well as a limp caller. We go heads up to a flop, which comes like queen 10x, maybe queen 10-4, queen 10-5, something like that. They both check to me. I decided to check it back. Maybe I should just be c-betting here, because if I don't hit a card on the turn, they're likely to lead now, and I'm not really sure where I'm going to be at the hand. That said, I think it's kind of a draw heavy board in a spot where if I'm gonna be betting this flop, I like going multiple barrels, not just betting this flop and letting like a 10 get the showdown. Anyway, so I check it back, and the turn is now some small diamond bringing a flush draw possible. And now kind of this guy who have already check raised once on a flop with air and likes to just bet small his weaker hands. He leads, I think, 40 or 45 into this like $80 pot. The player in between us folds. I like to call here with my 2 overs in nut gut shot. Obviously, he could have some draws. I have the best hand here with ace king high. So I call. The river is the 10 of diamonds, bringing in the backdoor flush draw, as well as hitting the second pair on the flop. So if he does have a queen, it's kind of a scare card for him, right? Because now he loses to the second pair. He also loses to the obvious picked up flush draw on the turn. And now he checks. And this is a spot where generally I'm just going to, check back, try to get to showdown with my ace king high. But I realize this is a guy that I've already beaten in a couple of spots. I'm obviously showing down a bunch of good hands, right? I got set over set coolered. I've had the kings against him. I've had just kind of the best hand a ton. And so I realized that this is a great spot for me to be bluffing. Like, yeah, I can take my hand to showdown, but this is a spot where he has some weak queens, maybe some pocket pairs that he doesn't know what to do with, where if I just bet large enough, he's just going to fold like all of it. So I think for a bit and announce 165, and I kind of quickly see them go to his chips like he's going to call, and I'm like, the dealer's like, what did you say? And I'm like, they're like 165. I'm like, yeah. And then he pretty quickly mucks. Obviously, I could have had the best hand with ace king high in this spot, but it's a situation where I think oftentimes players could be tricked into thinking like, oh, I have showdown value, let me check it back, and then they lose to like pocket deuces or something, and they're like, that sucks, like a bet would have gotten it done. So I think it's important to realize kind of these scary runouts and, apply the pressure where you can. All right, we have now picked up the 2 little munchkins. Charlie, how was your day today? Good. Benjamin, how are you? Good, yeah? All right. Looks like we're going to be continuing the hand histories a little bit later since we now have to go make some dinner. So pause that, break. We'll just, continue later. At this point, there's a few players walking away from the table. At Lucky Chances, they have instituted a rule where it's 8-handed with the plexiglass. And obviously, just kind of because of the conditions, you'll find that there's often times where multiple people are taking walks, going to wash their hands, getting some air away from the table because you do have, this max and this mask and this plexiglass. So it's not really like that comfortable. Anyway, so at this point, maybe we're 5-handed. It folds to the button who limps, small blind limps. I look down and the big blind king queen offsuit. Mandatory raise for me, obviously. I make it 20 more and both of them call. We go 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 8 deuce all clubs. I have king queen with the queen of clubs. So kind of a lock on this, on this board, one in which I'm probably just going to go with it. Really, I'm only behind flop flushes, exactly ace king with the ace of clubs, and obviously if someone flopped the nut flush, well then I'm just drawing dead, but I would essentially consider that a cooler. So when the small blind checks, I decided to check because I just think I had just way too much of this board. And now the button snap bets $70 into this pot. And when he does this, it kind of just feels like he's a hand that he wants to go with, whether it's some flop small flush, some flop 2 pair, something like that. At this point, the small blind folds, and I look over at this guy's stack, and he has, I think, another like $350. After thinking about it for a bit, I figure, if he's got a hand that he likes, he's just going to go with it. Check raising small might look really strong. Obviously, I just check call, but I don't want to, kill action if he has some hand like king 10 with the 10 of clubs, which I have just like murdered on this flop. Or if he has, some like king X hand where he doesn't have a club at all and the turn's a club and now we don't get the rest of the money in. So I just put them all in for like a $400 bet, and he pretty much snap calls it off. I roll my hand over and he goes, you got a bigger club than I do. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that. I guess when I hear this, I'm assuming he has like king 10 with the 10 of clubs or something like that. So I roll my hand over, and then he exposes that he has queen jack with the queen of clubs. So he doesn't even have a pair. He's queen jack with the jack of clubs. So he doesn't even have a pair, and he's just a jack high flush draw. So barring some runner 2 pair, runner straight or something like that, we pretty much have him dead. The turn is a club, just sealing the deal, and we overflush him, and we play a fairly big pot for what's essentially just 2-5 no limit, with a guy just having a jack high flush draw no pair on an all club board. The game's been action. I'm surprised to see how much people are just kind of punting it off in a lot of different spots, but at the same time, I guess people haven't been gambling as much lately, and so they're looking to gamble it up. Home now in the garage, and we get to the final hand of note. I pick up pocket aces and open to 25. We get 3 callers, and we go 4 ways to a flop, which comes queen 3-4 with 2 clubs. Goes check to me. I bet $70, and now the player to my immediate left, the one that had oversetted me right in the beginning of this 3-5 session, is the only caller. Granted, he's been loose so far as pre-flop holdings. I don't think his post-flop play has been indicative of anything too wild. Most of the time when he's been putting in money, it's when he's kind of smashed the flop. So, for example, the 5-6 hand where he called 166 more pre-flop, yes, he's loose, but then post-flop, he was only putting it in once he flopped to pair. Similarly with the pocket sevens where he flopped top set. There was another hand where I think he either raised or had 10-8 suited and flopped top 2 and bet big. So I think when he calls this flop, he's weighted towards obviously having some queen X hands as well as flush draws. The turn is an offsuit 10. At this point, I'm trying to take a picture for a thumbnail for this YouTube video, which obviously is very silly. I should be focusing on the hand, but if I try to focus on the hand and play the hand out, oftentimes I'm not able to take the picture. And so as part of creating a vlog, I wanted to take a photo. So I'm kind of trying to take a photo of the hand. At this point, the offsuit 10 comes, and I decided to check, not really thinking it through. Obviously, kind of a big mistake because I'm very likely to have the best hand here. I can bet fold. If I bet 150 to 200 and he raises me, it's an easy fold. And obviously, there are a number of worse hands that I could be getting value from. Anyway, I check and he snap checks behind. When he checks it back, I think it's fairly obvious that I have the best hand here, and I'm looking to put in a value bet on the river. Until the river comes the king of clubs, which in my opinion is kind of one of the worst cards that can come because obviously the flush is completed, and it also makes some two-pair hands like king queen, which are obviously pretty standard calls for pre-flop holdings. The only worst hand would probably, or the only worst card would probably be like the 7 of clubs or the deuce of clubs, which would complete the straight and the flush draws. Anyway, I check, and now he snap bets 200. I am a believer in these quick bets being kind of bluffs. That said, like, what do I hope that he has for bluffs? You know, his pre-flop holding range is very wide, so he does have some just random hands, like queen 9 offsuit, queen jacks offsuit. But I think that those types of hands might just check to showdown. I don't think that they would instantly bet here. Also, when I look back at my hand, I do have pocket aces without having the ace of clubs, which his sizing, I think, is indicative of kind of like a nut sizing. That said, I don't think this specific player is taking these things into consideration. Like, I don't think he's thinking about, like, okay, like, I need to bet this certain sizing because, like, for example, if it's a 10-eye flush, then he's trying to target, you know, specific holdings, and maybe he's going to be betting smaller for value. Whereas if he has the nut flush, then he can kind of be sizing up, targeting worse flushes. That said, like, I shouldn't have that many flushes if I'm going to be checking this river. Again, I don't think these are the things that are going through his head. If I did have the ace of clubs, I think I'd be a little bit more likely to call because now I think it's less likely that he has the nut flush. Again, I think he could be taking this sizing with worse flushes, right? Like if he has a 10-eye flush, 8-eye flush, I think he is still going to consider this the nuts and be betting it large. So after some thought, I just decided, like, you know, I haven't seen him kind of be betting in situations where he just doesn't have anything. I think it's much more likely that, you know, the only real hands that I beat here that are going to be bluffing are going to be the straight draws like 6-5 and 5 deuce. And I think if he had a queen, he's just going to be taking it to showdown now that the flush got in there. So anyway, I just decided on a fold. I don't really like the way I played the hand on multiple streets. I think I should be betting this turn, obviously, and for a pretty large sizing to target the worst queens, which I don't think he's ever going to be folding, and to be charging the flush draws, which again, I don't think are going to be folding, and, you know, aren't going to be having that much equity with one card to come. So I think I've made multiple mistakes here by not, you know, betting this turn. I should be focusing on the hand. Anyway, after losing that hand, I think I play maybe another orbit and decide that, you know, things have kind of gone well for me. I feel like the table has adjusted in that they're realizing that I'm kind of playing, you know, pretty straightforward and just showing down big hands. And I don't feel like I'm really getting action anymore as far as all my sizings for value. And again, like I didn't really plan on playing that long, that, you know, this is my first time back. So we end up booking, I think, about $1,079 win, yeah, something like 1080, 1079, something like that. Obviously a nice little welcome back, especially given that we did get stacked like our first hand and we're stuck like 1100 right off the bat with the set over set. Nice to kind of run it up thereafter. The games are great. I'm excited to kind of try to get right back into there. I'm actually going to be going to Las Vegas in a couple of days on Thursday. So if you're in Vegas, hit me up on Instagram. Head in there for a DGAF community meetup. It should be a lot of fun. Kind of looking forward to getting out of the house, seeing people again. Obviously, we will be protecting ourselves with some masks and the shield, as we saw in the video. But, you know, if you're out and about, I highly suggest it. Again, you know, check out his podcast. And, you know, consider becoming a member on Patreon because the community is just awesome. It's just a fun group of like-minded individuals who love poker, but come from all different facets of life. There are doctors, lawyers, degenerates, just all sorts of different walks of life, and it's really cool to be able to have these open discussions from really open-minded, cool people. Anyway, that's all for now. Happy to get back into the live streets. I think I might head back to posting some of the last couple of sessions before this, assuming I don't get into a number of live sessions again and just decide to scrap all that. Still playing a little bit on the app, so I do plan on putting some videos out on that because the games are great. So we've got a lot of things going on. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, hit me up on Instagram, if you have any questions. All right, thanks. Catch you guys later. Peace.